What is going on, everybody? We are here back again with one of our most successful students that we've ever had. And of course, at this point, is a great friend of ours, Virshon Fleming. Sean, how we doing?
Yo, man, I can't complain. I'm feeling amazing. How y'all doing today?
Really good, honestly. And now that we're talking to you, so let's jump right into it. I'm gonna try to keep it brief for you, Sean. So just want to ask you a couple questions. Of course, you've been with us now, I think, for a little over a year, or maybe a decently over a year, right?
Yeah, I think we linked right around like May last year.
Beautiful, beautiful. And since that time, how much revenue have you done since you joined us?
Over two. I think over 2.5 or something like that.
2.5 thousand?
No, dude, you know what I mean.
2.5 million. Okay, that's right. So I just needed to give everybody a little bit of proof that this guy knows exactly what he's talking about. So Sean, let's take it back from the beginning a little bit. What was your first impression of high ticket e-com when you heard about the business model?
Oh shit, sorry.
No, you're all good. My first impression was honestly just high profits. Like that was almost about it. Like I was selling products on eBay at the time. So my margin would be pretty slim when it comes to the actual dollar amount, maybe $5 profit, $7 profit, $3 profit. But a high ticket product was, massive profit, $200, $300 plus per sale. So that was like my first good impression of high ticket.
Okay, awesome. So you obviously had a little bit of e-commerce experience before doing high ticket. Why don't you speak on that a little bit? Like what were you doing before you came across the high ticket dropshipping model?
I got you. So right around like 2019 is kind of like when I got like full time into eBay dropshipping. After an event, it was just like life changing. Everybody there was doing e-commerce and young people who were just making money. And it was just kind of like impressionable for me. So I jumped into eBay pretty much like a side hustle type of thing. Started making a few $1,000, basically full-time income from home. And that is kind of like what was my foundation of my e-commerce journey.
Okay, awesome. And then if you could just kind of give me like a little compare and contrast, right, from the other type of e-commerce stuff that you were doing versus when you started actually taking high ticket e-commerce really serious.
I got you. With eBay, I was considered to be at a pretty decent level. I mean, I broke barriers for myself. To give you an idea, I started off with literally zero. I didn't even have a single credit card. Barely had a debit card to my name at the time. And, I got to a point where I scaled my store over 7 figures in total sales, roughly 6 figures per month in sales, and averaging a profit around like maybe $10,000, $12,000 per month at its peak. So that was kind of like, I guess, the good part of that e-commerce journey before I even got into high ticket.
Okay, gotcha. So before you actually joined us at More Than Money, what was your biggest obstacle? Like you honestly, it sounds like you had some really fairly good success in the other ventures. What was your biggest roadblock? And then how did you overcome that once you started doing high ticket stuff?
Gotcha. That's pretty tough. I mean, to compare and contrast between eBay and Shopify, I didn't have to learn anything about advertising or branding or anything like that. So it was very, very simple there. And this concept of high ticket dropshipping, it was just that one big difference of learning how to market it. And that's kind of where that big obstacle was for me. And also just up on the personal development side, I'm sure you guys know, the more that you develop oneself, the better off your business is. Like it's just a mirror reflection of that development. So it was partly learning marketing and partly just developing things like my personal habits and stuff like that. So
did you
those are pretty much the two.
Did you feel like you had to unlearn anything when you started high ticket?
Kind of, yeah. At the time when I was learning high ticket, I kind of had to unlearn like little issues that I had within myself. Like, for example, with eBay, it was more so not necessarily a push button, but at the time, I've gotten eBay to a point where I didn't have to do much work. So I felt like that is kind of the same thing here with high ticket, where I felt like everything was kind of instantaneous when it really wasn't. So that was one big thing I had to unlearn, that everything don't just come overnight. You actually have to work for it. That was one thing I had to unlearn.
Okay, I love that. Yeah. So I know you mentioned like the personal development side, and of course, in a lot of cases, that does go side by side with the actual business. What, in your opinion, what was the biggest takeaway that our program was able to impact on either the self-development side, the business model side, or maybe even both?
Honestly, man, I've actually, when I visited you guys for the first time, one thing that Jared taught me was that, bro, when you get to a certain level, I know my camera just cut off here, but when you get to a certain level of making even a full-time income per month consistently from your store, you need to be doing a few things. You need to be setting aside money for investing. And that could be investing in oneself or investing into markets, et cetera. That's one big thing. Another big thing is that to make sure that you are hiring help, because at some point or another, you will come across issues where you can't handle it all on your own. So you need to be hiring help. So those are two major things that I learned relatively early in my journey that I definitely should have done even before I visited you guys. But, you know, I'm here now. And yeah, I brought on that help. I started investing in myself and investing into, you know, other markets and stuff like that. So it's yielding pretty good dividends from just learning from you guys.
I love that. Honestly, you're like the poster child of everything that we hope to do when we actually started the program. Like, we named it More Than Money for a reason. So, you know, obviously we were able to kind of guide you in the business high ticket stuff, but, you know, to hear that it kind of went beyond high ticket drop shipping, it's definitely a great feeling, because like I said, that's exactly what we set out to do from the jump.
For sure.
Awesome. I guess I would honestly want to ask you, you know, what would be like your thoughts realistically regarding like the community, like how, you know, how would you describe pretty much your experience, obviously with More Than Money, not just for you personally, but like maybe like for even other people that you've seen in the community, like what would you, to someone considering joining pretty much, like how would you describe it?
Honestly, it's two things. I can speak from my personal experience, like just joining with you guys. And this is like swear to God, straight from the heart. When I started, you know, when I started working with you guys, Have More Money, it was me on my own building this eBay store. At the time, eBay was still considered quote unquote a side hustle, even though it was a business. At the end of the day, you can get your business rubbed, you can get it pulled from under you. That has happened before with eBay. One thing that I talk about sometimes is that, you know, when you leave a position here with high ticket, you can actually sell your position. So if you were to sell, you can decide right now, I want to stop drop shipping, and I can actually exit for a big dollar amount. That in itself is so valuable that I wouldn't have got that with eBay. But another thing that I want to kind of just say about, you know, working with you guys is that I didn't have too much. I had a little something going on with eBay. A lot of people say, you know, you had some sort of prereq, which I did. I'm not going to take that away from myself. But at the end of the day, dude, like getting involved with you guys has propelled me so much far than more than I can even imagine going in just one little year. Like, you know what I mean? Like linking up with you guys, it put, you know, all this money in to be able to supply me with, you know, just living the life that I want to live, bro. Like I honestly travel for free. I don't have to worry about, you know, money coming in consistently. And it's just been amazing, bro. Like, honestly, it's been amazing.
I love that. So, obviously, we appreciate the kind words as well. I know I want to touch, just so we don't, you know, scare anybody off. You had prior e-commerce experience, right? And I'm sure that helps. Now, in your honest opinion, would you say that e-commerce experience is an absolute must before starting high ticket? Or do you think that, you know, you could learn the ropes just as easy?
Honestly, no, not at all. The only thing that I really pulled over from eBay was knowing that I was making, you know, $3 to $5 per sale there. And yes, it's the same format when it comes to just listing a product, but that's about it. That's the only thing I really learned, and a little bit of customer service. But if you guys are honestly customers of a business, then you know how customer service should be in your business. So you guys have prereqs that's out there that don't have quote unquote experience with high ticket. You do, you just probably don't see that yet. But that's the only only sort of prereq that I had, honestly. Other than that, everything else I learned straight through you guys, and it got me to where I am today. You know what I mean? So I'm forever grateful for that.
I feel like it's funny because obviously, Mike and I did eBay too, and I feel like really the only thing that translated for me was like the mindset aspect, like just kind of, understanding when it comes to starting a business, not quitting, obviously just having experience with chargebacks as well. But yeah, other than that, at least for me personally, I felt like it was just a whole new journey when I started high ticket. And truthfully, you really don't need any other e-com experience, as you said. And I loved your face when Mike asked the question, because that answered it. You didn't even need to say a word after that.
Exactly. It's like, all right, bro, like think about it. Like when you jumped from eBay to high ticket, if you were so confident that you had all these prereqs, you wouldn't have felt like honestly in your heart and your intuition telling you like, man, this is a big leap. Like if you had that prereq, you wouldn't come into high ticket feeling like that. I'm pretty sure you came into high ticket feeling like that, because I came into high ticket feeling like that. Like, and this is a big step for me. If I had prereq, I wouldn't feel like that. If I had prereq, I would have felt like I've done this before. I know, you know what I mean?
You know what I think is, like, since you started other businesses in the past, I think it was easy for you to identify why high ticket is such a great business model, because like you had other things to compare it to where. People who are just starting e-com for the first time, they don't realize, maybe people that are starting AliExpress businesses or even eBay, they don't realize that there's other better businesses out there where someone like you, since you had so much e-com experience, it probably, when you started high ticket, things probably clicked for you, which is obviously what helped lead to $2.5 million later. So
yeah, but trust me, bro, there's no major difference. Honestly, you could have pulled me off the street and taught me, high ticket before I learned eBay, and I'll probably still be where I am today. Probably a little bit less when it comes to like personal development, but overall, like I would still be making a decent sizable living for myself. And you just pulled me off the street with no records. You know what I mean? So it's simple, man. Honest to God, it's so simple. It's so simple.
The lesson is always just from that whole conversation, just start. Right? Because even if it doesn't work out, you're going to learn things and apply it to your next venture, as long as you don't actually quit. So I only have one more question. I don't know about you, Jared, but Sean, if you could give one piece of advice to somebody who's listening to this, who's maybe hesitant to start their e-commerce journey, what would your advice be?
Trust your instinct and trust your process. Think about everything that always like was in your stomach and telling you like, I shouldn't do this. Like, honestly, like take the time right now to really think about this. I think about it like the first time I ever went on a roller coaster. Like I was so scared. By the time I got off the roller coaster, I had so much fun. You know what I mean? When I decided to jump from, I was selling life insurance at the time, to jump into eBay, I had that feeling like, there's a little risky. Like I'm betting on myself, but I did it. I came out the other side with something decent going on there, and jumping from eBay to high ticket, I had that feeling once again. I jumped into it, and here I am. You know what I mean? So I would just say go for it, man, and trust the process, honestly. Trust the process and trust your tuition.
Yeah, I find that so relatable. I think that anytime anybody starts something new, they always get that sickening feeling, that uncomfortable feeling, and almost human nature just to run the opposite way. But it's like you're saying, we always say, right, you got to run straight at it, because on the other side of that, there's something beautiful.
Exactly. Unless, I've been scared to like skydive. That's one thing. Like bungee jumping and stuff like that. I can steer far away from that. But other than that, man, jump and go for it, man.
One day you'll do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Jared, anything else you want to add on?
The only question I had, the last question would be, I guess, like if there's one thing you would give to someone, to be successful, what would you say is the main thing that contributed to your success? I feel like you kind of touched up on it, but I guess just kind of like, what would be the one thing you would give to someone who's already started to be successful?
Especially if you already started. I kind of want to say two things. It's tough to say between the two, but I'll give you guys the two just to kind of let you in and see what I'm talking about. Being coachable. Being coachable. There's not a single person on this planet that's been great at what they do that hasn't followed advice from people before them. You have to be coachable. And even if you're, and that will lead me to my second point, which is to always be learning. Every single experience, no matter if it's a win or a loss, you have to learn from it. Winners learn how to win. They figure out it's a system. They learn how to win. When it comes down to losing, you will have shortcomings on your path or on your journey to success. You will have fallbacks. You'll have drawbacks. Learn from those drawbacks. What do you do wrong, and how can I fix it for later? So, yeah, always be learning and be coachable. Be coachable. Be coachable. Awesome. Especially if you're started already.
Awesome. I love that. I love that so much, Sean. But all right, well, let's cut it there. I really appreciate you taking the time, hop on with us. Obviously, I mean, our actual students are going to be seeing a lot more of you in 2022 as you start hosting your own coaching calls and, really just giving back to, the community that obviously when you first started, it was very minimal. There was pretty much nobody in. You were one of our first students. In the last year and a half, we've come a long way. And, see you obviously make it for yourself and now be willing to give back to the community and, support and coach others. It's absolutely beautiful. And obviously we appreciate you for that.
Hell yeah.
For sure.
It definitely says something. It says something right when one of our first students ever is still here and become, now someone for others to look up to. So it was great talking to you, Virshon. I can't wait for people to see this. They're definitely going to get value of it. And we appreciate you joining us.
All right, for sure, man. Appreciate y'all, man. Happy holidays.
Hell yeah.